Don't you just love the sound of her voice? You just have a tone that's really nice. So imagine if God said to you when you woke up in the morning, "Good morning, this is God, and I'll be handling all your problems today. I will not need your help, so have a good day." How many of us need to hear that kind of on a daily, if not an hourly basis, about releasing and letting go? And that is what we're exploring this month, is the idea, the power of renunciation, the power of releasing and letting go, the power of making room. And what we get to do this month is look at all the different ways that we can let go. And the truth is, the body really is programmed to let go. It really is. So let's just all take a deep breath for a minute. Just hold that. And then let it out. So the truth is, you can't hold your breath, can you? Not for very long. I mean, you'll die if you do. So the truth is, our bodies are kind of programmed to let go. We breathe in, we breathe out. Our bodies are releasing toxins all the time. We're in this constant experience of taking in and letting out, and bringing in and releasing and letting go. And so as we move into this talk this morning, my question to you is, what needs to be released in your life right now? There's got to be something, even if it's just an old pair of shoes that you have hanging around, right? What is it that needs to be released in your life? Is it a relationship? Is it a job? Is it a way of thinking and being? Is it a pet? I mean, what is it that needs to be released in your life? So as we look at this idea, in unity, the word renunciation, letting go, releasing, unity calls it denial, which is different from a 12-step denial, which is where you're not accepting reality as it is. But denial in unity is about releasing the power that any outer situation may have over us. So for instance, in unity, it's important that we move into denial before we move into affirmation. So an affirmation calls in the good. But if you're calling in prosperity, and yet you don't believe that you are can be prosperous, that thought needs to be let go of first, right? You need to release the idea that money is bad, or that you can't have it in order for it to come in. The same thing as if we're affirming healing. We need to release the idea of illness, and it isn't that physically we're not experiencing illness, but rather, if we are spiritual beings as we say we are, as if the God seed, the living Christ is within, then truthfully, nothing in the outer actually has any real power over us, doesn't it? Because Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth says that you cannot be sick, you cannot be hurt, you cannot be afraid, because greater is the power that is within you than any power or person that's out in the world. So there's no one else who can actually control you, there is no one else that can harm you or hurt you, and there is nothing that can destroy us, because we have that presence within. So that is the spiritual definition of denial and releasing and letting go, so that we can make room. So renunciation, letting go, releasing. Jesus said it this way: "Therefore I say to you, be not anxious for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor for your body what you shall put on, because which of you by being anxious can add 1 cubit to your life?" Right? So if we believe that our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions create our reality, then doesn't it make sense that if we are anxious, if we are worrying, what are we creating? We're creating what we don't want, right? When we're focusing on only what is wrong, then we are bringing that into manifestation, are we not? If we are worrying, we are praying for what we don't want, because every thought on some level is a prayer. So I think we all have great practices that we're already using to release and let go. And some of those, I'll just throw some out and you can add to it. Obviously, exercise is a great way to release and let go, right? Yoga is wonderful for that. Sometimes we have to see our healers and our doctors to help us let go, don't we? We have to go get a massage, or we need help from someone else to do that. What are some of the ways that you release and you let go? Meditation. Writing. Great. Singing. Breathing. Dancing. Walking. Gardening. Did you say working? Petting the dog. How many pet their dog or their kitty as a way of releasing? So we already have these practices that are in place. And I've shared with you before that for me, when I have to start writing a sermon, I have to release the whole week before I can do it so that I can hear. And for me, it's a hot tub or a steam room. Heat is a way for my body just to go, so then I can listen and I can hear and I can start to write. If I don't do that, everything is still so stuck to me that I cannot hear. So really reflect on those ways that you release. And if you haven't done any of them for a while, maybe you're called to step into that. Another release that we have is tears, right? Tears are a great way to release. An article by Therese Borchardt said that there are many healing qualities to tears. And one is that tears can help us see, literally see, because it lubricates our eyes and it prevents dehydration. Tears kill bacteria. Crying can alleviate a mood, help bring it up. It lowers stress, and it releases feelings. I think laughter could be said of the same thing, right? Laughter can release feelings, it can lower stress, it can elevate a mood, releasing toxins. So there's all these different experiences that are already built into us physically that we already do to release. So last week we celebrated the Day of the Dead. How many of you were here for that? It was really fun. And it was a fun way to look at a very serious and scary subject, and we woke the ancestors. And I had a number of people come to me and say that those from the other side came and greeted them. And so the thing that happened to me this week is I feel in some ways, and I'm speaking metaphorically, I'm not speaking literally, but in some ways, I woke up the angel of death because I talked about and saw different images, brought different images of her, and the angel of death sort of stepped into my life and tried to take my dog. Again, not really, not physically, but you know what I mean. So we went for a hike on Monday, and normally I'm very conscious of my little dog, Gio, because she's 13 years old, and she's old, and so I have a little baby pack. Yes, I do. And when she's tired, I'll usually put her in there so then we can continue walking. But she didn't give any signals that she was stressed or we were doing too much. So I just kind of kept walking her. And when we got home, she couldn't breathe. And it continued to get worse throughout the evening to the point where she was suffocating to death. And for those of you who have your pets, it's like you're in that moment. Now what do? Do you sit and watch her go to the end? No, couldn't do that. So I took her to the emergency hospital in Lindvig. And of course, when you step in that door, you're going down another road, which is the credit card road, or it's like, oh boy. Okay, well, here's your options. We can do these tests, and, she needs oxygen, and we're not sure. We could go through this whole process, and she could still die, or we could put her down, or, so here's all the options that were before us. And she needed to be in oxygen, so she stayed for 2 days. And the good news is she's home now, and Kelly made her a little oxygen tent at home so she could be in that, and she's a lot better, and she's breathing, and looks like she'll probably make it. But what I noticed about this whole experience was, here we had just done the Day of the Dead. We had, talked about releasing the body because it's the ultimate letting go. And you know what? It's fun to talk about it and stuff, but when you're going through it, it's not so fun. And what I noticed was I was brought to my knees by the fact that I could lose my little dog. And I can't believe how I cried over this dog. It was like, it just brought me to my knees. And I thought, the truth is that the ultimate letting go, which is death, rough. I'm scaring the doggies. The ultimate letting go is death, and in order to really release it and accept it, we have to grieve. You really do. And if we don't do it, I think we delay certain experiences that might happen. And what are the stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross? It's anger, denial. I'm not doing them in order, but it's anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance, right? So I think I got through 3 of them, and then I bargained my way back into her being alive. So put off the rest of it. But what I noticed is that in the tears was the beginning of the acceptance that this might be it. And the truth is, she's 13, so who knows how much longer I have with her. And that the tears were actually very healing, and a process that the body already has kind of coded into it to accept and to release and to let go. So if there is something that you are holding on to, perhaps one needs to go through the grieving process, and if you're grieving, to honor that. And what I noticed about grief is it's exhausting, isn't it? You need a lot of sleep when you're grieving because it's exhausting. So if letting go is a force of nature and it's something that we just do naturally, then why is it that we resist it so much? Why do we resist letting go? And I think it is because ultimately we have to let go of control, right? And the changes that we experience may not be the ones that we called in or that we wanted to experience, right? And so we can't control it. And the truth is we can influence things, but we can't control them. I can't control whether my dog lives or dies. I can influence it to the best of my ability, but I can't control it. We can't control our kids. We can influence them, but we can't control them. We can't control our partners. We can influence them, but we can't control them. Who is it that you can control? Maybe, huh? Even then, maybe we can control ourselves. Who is it that we can change? Ourselves. And so we spend so much time seeking to take care of everything and control it and make sure that the changes are the changes that we want. And the truth is, renunciation, letting go. So I have a story that I'm sure many of you know, that is from Richard Bach, but I think it really speaks to what we're talking about this morning. And it's the story of the little sea creatures. I'm sure you'll remember it. It's from the book Illusions. Once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. And the current of the river swept silently over them all. Young, old, rich, poor, good, evil, the current going its own way, knowing only its crystal self. So what is the current? I think the current is change. We are in this current of change that is constantly moving and flowing through our lives, isn't it? And it affects us all. Young, old, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. Each creature, in its own manner, clung tightly to the twigs and the rocks at the river bottom, for clinging was their way of life, and resisting the current was what each had learned since birth. Control, yeah? But one creature said at last, you know what? I'm tired of clinging, and though I can't see it with my eyes, I trust that the current knows where it's going. So I'm going to let go, and I'm going to let it take me where it will, because clinging, I shall die of boredom. So the other creatures laughed and said, fool, if you let go, and that current you worship is going to throw you and tumble you and smash you against the rocks, and you'll die quicker than you ever would have from boredom. But the one heeded them not. And taking a breath, he let go, and at once was tumbled and smashed by the current against the rocks. Here's the thing. If we've been so used to controlling every little thing, the moment we let go, we may get tumbled against the current and the rocks, right? Because everything has gotten so out of order that in some ways being tumbled will put us in the right order, and it might hurt at first. Yet in time, as the creature refused to cling again, the current lifted him from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more. And the creatures downstreams, to whom he was a stranger, cried, "Wow, see a miracle. It's a creature like ourselves, but he flies. See, the Messiah has come to save us all." And the one who was carried in the current, he said, "No, I'm no more Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free if only you let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure." But they cried all the more, and they said, "Savior!" All the while they're clinging to their rocks, and when they looked again, he was gone, and they were left alone making legends of a Savior. Is this not our story on some level, where we cling and we hold on and we cling and we hold on, and it's in that process of letting go and welcoming change and accepting change into our lives that brings us into the right current, brings us into the right place in the river of life that we are flowing through. So how often do you hang on when perhaps you should be letting go? And faced with change, if you're faced with change and you're faced with loss, I think it's important that we each give ourselves the space and the time to grieve that loss. It's already coded into the body. Because who, by worrying, can add 1 minute to your life? Not going to happen. You already have in place all the practices. You know how to do it. So again, at the beginning, I asked you what needs to be released. I'd like you to hold that in your mind right now. What is it in your life right now that you need to let go of? And this time, I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath, bringing that experience, that person, that event in, and then exhale and let it go. We're going to do it 3 times. Inhale, bring it back in. You don't need it anymore. Exhale, let it go. And last time, inhale and bring it in. And really, for real this time, exhale and let it go. So that you may be like the sea creature who has released it. So good morning. This is God. And I'll be handling all your problems for you today. Thank you very much, but I don't need your help. Have a good day. I love you.